Hi, and welcome to the Home Assistant running on Synology in Docker. Today we will not be installing anything, but instead I'll quickly walk you through my own setup. We'll start in 10 seconds. One of my friends asked me after seeing a couple of my videos on YouTube, what is Home Assistant? And that got me thinking. Yes, we have installed a lot of stuff, configured it, and integrated with the Home Assistant, but we never talked what Home Assistant is and what home automation is. Home Assistant is open source home automation software. For me, definitely software worth installing and playing with, because it gives you not only a ton of possibilities, but also allows you to integrate it with a lot of other stuff, both on-premise and in cloud. Today, more than 1,500 integrations exist, to various known and less known systems. But you may wonder, why using Home Assistant when you can use ready-made solution from Amazon, Google or Samsung, or just opt out for small islands and select Netatmo, Tado, Philips, IKEA, or any specific solution for your problem, be it heating or cooling, lights, alarm system, doors, locks, cameras, etc. The answer is privacy, and to some extent security also. Let's imagine that you have Xiaomi door sensor. Do you really want information about status of your door available to some company, corporation, country? No matter what country or company that is. Every action you take in a smart home has to have some data connected to it. And there are a lot of companies that work with that data to learn about you, your family, your behavior, and your patterns of living. But that's a long topic, and while you have to be aware of this, don't exaggerate or make negative hype like some did recently. Everything is hackable, and your smart home will also be hackable, like your existing door, car or computer. No laser needed. By utilizing local implementation of home automation, in my case Home Assistant, most of the data stays on my local computer. Is it hard? Actually no. I'm not a technical guy. I have no prior education in electronics, programming, or anything like that. But I still manage to do whatever I need. Let's start talking about my own setup. I have 3 Home Assistant systems. One is by the book system running on Raspberry Pi 3. By running it on Raspberry Pi, that is definitely easiest way to starting home automation. Second system I have is for testing and video recording. I just can't allow myself to tinker on production environment as Frank. If I would do that, I would disturb balance in the force and probably got divorced or evicted by my wife. My testing and video system is running on some old setup, really old, but it still works. And my main system is running on Synology system. That's why I made this series. Model is some 5 years old, but it still serves the purpose. And if you wonder why, logic was, since I already have Synology running as media server, VPN gateway, Minecraft server, why not use it for something else too? On it, I have most of the Dockers I covered in my videos, some I love, some I just need to have, and others I just can't find time to play and learn more about them. For Zigbee network, I have USB CC2351 stick with the latest available firmware, and I use it to control about 60% of my Zigbee devices. Those devices are IKEA lights, mostly warm white, some with white color spectrum, and just one with color light bulb, and I don't like it. And of course, IKEA Smart Hub, and I also do have some wireless control outlets. But not those are UK version, I have EU Continental or Schuko version. As I said, I have Thread-free gateway, and I use it to control rest of my Zigbee network, about 40% of the devices, where I still do have some lights, 10 of them, and I also have remote control and also the old wireless dimmer, not the new one. The reason is I was having a lot of problems with adding those old puck wireless dimmers, and that's when I got strike one from my wife and decided to leave them on the old network. I also have some Xiaomi devices, which I love. Those are Xiaomi switches, round ones, Xiaomi motion sensor, contact or door sensor, Magic Cube that we neglect and forget that we have, and of course temperature and humidity sensor from Xiaomi. From other devices that you can buy, I have several old IP cameras, no smart functionality on them, and you really don't need it. Less intelligent, more things you will be able to do with it. And I also have one smart power outlet, Tuya compatible, with ESP Home flashed on it, and I use it to control my 3D printer. And nicest thing is, I also use it to track power usage of the 3D printer. And last hardware I have for home automation is a bunch of ESP32 and ESP8266 boards that I use for tinkering. But still they get connected back to Home Assistant. Only few of them are on permanently. And some I really do adore, love and recommend. One of them is Queen LED boards from Quindor. Those I use to control LED strips, and they are handmade. When I said handmade, no, they are not completely handmade. One part is ESP development board, and the other part is handmade boards that I soldered components on based on the instructions provided by Quindor. Okay, let's look more closely into my visual setup. I have information about my family members, are they home or are they away, and I use this information for the triggers and automations. So, for example, I use two device trackers. One is Google Maps and the other is device tracker that is embedded inside Tado heating system. Tado heating system gives me additional layer of, let's call it, security or accuracy. It doesn't track devices where they are located, it just tracks them if they are home or not. One of the automations based on the location I have is tracking if, for example, my oldest daughter is still home or she is out to see her friends or go to school. If she leaves home, lights in her room will change to off. Why? She always leaves them on. Next automation I have is evening lights and midnight lights. Midnight lights is just pure time automation, meaning every day at midnight all lights in the apartment will turn off. And this is one of the first automations I made in the system because I usually fell asleep in front of TV and my wife would wake up at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock and started yelling that, well, I again fell asleep and I've of course left all the lights on. To prevent that, and by that I do not mean falling asleep in front of TV, I still do that sometimes. I just made automation that will automatically turn off lights at midnight, send me telegram message that it's midnight, and also on TV write text, and on Google Nest Hub that I have in the living room, it will say that it's midnight and that system is going to sleep, so why should I not go too? And yes, I have bunch of messages and messages play randomly. So for example, for midnight I have, 5, 6 sentences and system just randomly chooses what to say. Also for my morning routine or morning setup, when the sun is above the horizon, my system will say a random text. This goes for the most of my verbal or audio messages I receive from the system. I like it much better than have one single sentence repeated every time. Let's look at some other things. This is my heating system. I use it here to track and see if everything is okay with the heating. So I can see what the current temperature is and is the heating system in idle or off form or is it heating. Here I have a couple of Google Home devices. Two of those devices are minis. One is Google Nest Hub and the other one is Lenovo Smart Clock that I really like. I get notifications about waste, so I know what waste to take down for a disposal. Here I have my Chromecast and Smart TV. This is something that is more or less vanity item. It tracks my channel and it displays what is the latest video I released. This is a component that you really will not use that much, but I think it's funny to have it here. I have a couple of statistics here, mainly the TV time, uptime, and the current version. As far as I know, today or during this night we had update for 0.103.5, so the update automatically installed, which is great on one hand, but can be trouble if there is a bug in the system, like with version 0.103.1 or .2, I think. Then I have weather information. Those are all the general weather items I made how-to videos on, or I will be making how-to videos on, but some are extended. For example, meteor alarm, and I recorded how-to video for that one. I've expanded it here, and I also have verbal notification on my smart speakers. Whenever the meteor alarm changes from safe to unsafe, I get not just notification in Telegram, but I also receive a verbal notification from my smart speakers saying what type of the event it is and what is description of the event. Again, not something that you need, but it's also nice that the system tries to pretend that it is smart, and in the end it's just automations. I have my rooms, specific rooms. I don't have other rooms except my kids' rooms, and I made those rooms just for them so they can control their own rooms from the smartphone if they have it. Next thing that I have here is my climate control. I said previously, and I made 2 videos about it, I'm using Tado. That is a great system. I have 3 smart valves and 1 smart thermostat. Smart valves are in the living room and my kids' room, and I also have smart thermostat in my living room. The biggest difference is the granularity of the heating you can set up. On smart thermostat you can go to 1 decimal space, I think, and in the rooms where there is only smart valve you can just go for a full degree, so it's either 21 or 22. I don't use it to set up my system. In effect, when you have Tado, you never touch your system. This system is really automatic, it works perfectly, it recognizes windows open, closed, if there is sun outside, not, so it knows how to behave and to make your home as comfortable as you want it to be. As you can see, here I track my Tado status. This is the information that Tado is providing me. Is the current Tado in status home or away? And for the last 24 hours, how many hours we had Tado in away status. Besides that, I also have Xiaomi smart sensor in my bathroom, and I track humidity and temperature inside bathroom. And it's fun to check the statistics for the humidity after somebody is taking a shower. Kids like to take a long showers, so the humidity can go all the way up to 85 or 90%. And this is something that I will be using in future for the vent. Currently I'm using a switch to turn the vent on or off, but I will be making in one of my future projects in 2020 smart switch that will be turning on ventilation inside bathroom as soon as the humidity goes above certain threshold. For cameras, I said I had a couple of cameras. These are not the only cameras I have. One camera is in front of my flat, and this camera I use also for face recognition. I use Facebox, and probably you've seen that I made a video on that. This is more or less gimmick. I don't use it currently for any automation except for the notifications. But I really like, and I do plan to do something about it. I just don't know why at this point. And I also have one camera inside, and I also have one additional camera that's monitoring corridor in front of the corridor. This is something that my neighbors asked me to set up when I was setting up my system, just for us to be able to have video recording if anything has happened. Recordings are stored in a safe place, not just on this location, but also in another location. I use a rail station for that, because with Synology you receive license for 2 cameras. And it works perfectly well. Here you can see that I also have front door sensor. I don't use it for any kind of a specific security implementation. I use it for tracking really if the door is open or closed during colder periods. As one of the friends of my daughter is living in a flat next to ours, they go constantly from one apartment to the other, and they always leave the front door open. So as I said, this is not a security device. This is device telling me, okay, kids again left the door open and it's -10 outside. Next item I also mentioned earlier that I have is motion detector, and I have it in my living room. The main reason I bought this is not motion detection. It is really checking the intensity of light. This is something I'm currently only tracking. And by tracking, I mean I'm recording all the data from it and comparing it with the status of the lights in the living room manually. So I can make some kind of pattern. My wife likes to have a lot of lights turned on, and I just need to know what is that threshold of natural light when that's not sufficient and she wants to turn the lights on, so I can automate that. Oh yeah, and I also use this motion detection for night light. Not much to say here. This is used to control lights. I have 5 lights in the ceiling, and I use this to turn those lights when kids want to read in the living room, for example, those 2 lights. The only thing that's not standard here is tracking of daily lights, how many hours they were on, starting from midnight. And the other one is tracking the lights in this year. The statistics unfortunately are not correct. I'm still working on it. But also I'm trying to connect the usage in terms of hours with the watts used by the lights. This is not a perfect system. I have a lot of work still to do to get this running correctly, but that's another project for year 2020. As you can see, my magic cube is here. I can't remember when was the last time I moved it. According to the system, there was movement 36 minutes ago. Probably somebody bumped the table and it woke up. This here is rice lights. I really love this light strip. I will be posting a link to it. I will be making an additional video on it. This year we do not just have Christmas tree. We also have rice tree. No, it's just a plant we have inside the apartment. And after watching Quindor's video and really great lights he found, LED strips, I decided to order them. Now we have 2 decorated trees with the visual effects. Let's jump to the next device I have, and this is Synology device. So here I can track all the statistics related to my Synology. This includes CPU, RAM and disk usage, current network status, current disk temperature status, and status of the SSL certificate, because I have my domain name and it's exposed and I use Let's Encrypt certificate for that. Also, I have UPS, and there are a lot of things, and there was a lot of talk, for example, on Home Assistant podcast about what do you do when you get power outage. I don't do anything, I have UPS. But people forget that putting Raspberry Pi or putting Synology will not solve your issues, because you still will not have at least your network running and of course your lights, fridge, whatever you have in your apartment or house. So my UPS provides me with about 1.5 hours of autonomy if there is a power failure, and I have connected to it my Synology, so all my home automation plus my media servers are still up and running. My network, meaning my switch with power over Ethernet functionality, that is powering my access point and my cameras. That means that I still have my cameras and my wireless network available. 2 routers are connected to it, so I have connectivity up to the optic fiber and also media converter for the optic fiber. In reality, that means that if there is a power failure, I have 1.5 hours of my Home Assistant system running, collecting statistics. I have my internet connectivity running, and I also have my cameras running. When the battery is depleted or just before it's depleted, I also have graceful shutdown from Synology, meaning that I avoid any sudden power shocks on my Synology device, and that way I can protect both motherboard on it and disks. And if you plan to have some serious setup and you have at least 1 power outage a year, planned or not planned, I do recommend having investment in UPS. What I mentioned earlier, I also have my 3D printer on. Currently it's not printing anything, and thank God, because it was printing a lot last couple of days. It gives me information about power usage, what is the status of the hot end, the bed temperature, remaining time, current printing time, is there a print error, and I also have a real-time camera on the printer. This is just a normal standard webcam. Next, I have package tracking. I also made a video about it. This is 17 track component. I will not go into details. I have my calendar, both holiday information, my private calendar and my work calendar. A lot of things will be blurred on this page. Let's jump to next one. This is Edgard. I made a video on that also. If I have to choose between Pi-hole and Edgard, I would definitely go for the Edgard. It has some annoying quirks. For example, some pages it just recognizes as unsafe pages or adult content pages. But if I know that they are not, I just temporarily turn it off. One thing I have to make is some kind of automation that will turn back system, for example, after 5 or 10 minutes if it's off. This one is for the testing purposes still. I use it to stream on my Google Nest display and Google Chromecast, my home assistant. This is something I'm still tinkering with. And the last page that I also showed previously was my test page. Here I put everything that is not finished, that I have to work on and that I'm playing with. For example, GTFS is one of those components. I have 2 kids and one of them has school always in the morning and the other one has odd or even weeks. So one week she's in the morning, the other week she's in afternoon. I tried to make automation on that and it's working, but the other automations based on GTFS unfortunately are not working. I don't know if this is because of my regional settings or something, but I just cannot get GTFS working as it should be. The other thing that's bothering me is also my radio system, or trying to make radio played on my Google speakers. Unfortunately, that is not also working. And this is it for today's episode. Unfortunately, this video is 20 plus minutes long, so I want to cut it short and I just keep on talking. If there is interest and people like this video and would like to learn more about my specifics of the system, for example, automations, configuration files, how I do various bits and bobs behind Home Assistant, I will be making video number 2. But as I said, this is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I gave you some hints, tips and tricks on how you can improve your setup. My setup is definitely not perfect, but it has some nice features for me and my family. Thank you very much for watching this video. Let's call this video a special for the Christmas and New Year. If you would like to see part 2 of this video, please leave me a comment or a like. And the more likes and comments I get, the more likelihood there will be of a second part of this video, where I will be talking about my various automations, how I improved my Telegram setup, what other components I have in my system, how I do sensors, what information I track, and various other information. Thank you once again for watching this video. If you still haven't subscribed, please subscribe and hit the bell button so you get notified in the future updates. If you have any kind of comment or suggestion, also leave it down in the comment section, and I will be seeing you next time. Until then, bye bye and have fun!